Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. This is last week's Redmen Plus deep dive. We recorded it before the Aston Villa game, so some of the stats are a little bit dated, but only by one match. The reason we wanted to release it this week is to give you a flavour of what we're doing. Obviously, you know, each and every week we do a deep dive on YouTube. We also do one on Plus. If you want more deep dives in your life, which by all accounts the comments are pretty good, you might do, then you've got the option to join us on redmenplus.com. You can use the code TOP and you'll get 50% off a yearly subscription at captain level. That will then give you access to every second deep dive. If you want to do it through YouTube, you can do it through the Redmen Plus video subscription as well. You'll get all of that and a whole host of everything else that we do. But anyway, enough from me. Back to me and Josh, where we discuss the idea of control. Hello everyone, welcome to Redmen TV. It is the deep dive. I have just absolutely mullered my leg there. So I've dropped my foot off the metal bar and whacked my ankle on the metal bar during my intro, which was fantastic.
You still haven't done your back?
Well, yeah, it's still sore, you know.
Is it, yeah?
It is, yeah, it's bad.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, we move on. We're here to talk. Well, initially, I'll level with you, it was about Brighton, because I wanted to look at the tactics of Brighton. But I had this thought last night when I was like lying in bed about control and what does control mean, because I'm a fucking weirdo and that's the type of stuff that sort of keeps me awake at night.
It's an important question.
I think it is an important question. I'm glad to tackle the question with you, but before we do that, I did want to just quickly look at the Brighton stuff, because I thought Liverpool were outplayed at times by Brighton and Anfield, certainly in the first half. I thought we were not very good. And there was one move that I think epitomised what was wrong for Liverpool and what was so good about Brighton moreover as well. So if we can get this up on my iPad right now, you can see the goalkeeper here has the football. I'd like you to keep your eye on this man here, the midfielder, as well, who I've just drawn, well, I would say a loose square around.
A bit more of a rhombus.
It's a rhombus. Now there's a word I didn't think was going to make it into the show today.
If you just look at the rhombus there.
If you look at the rhombus on your right-hand side, that man, just keep your eye on him, because I think his movement's absolutely sensational, by the way. So I'm going to move on to the next one now. And the goalkeeper's actually, you see here, the goalkeeper's actually dragging the ball back, even though Núñez is probably 5 yards away from him.
Yeah.
So he's really drawing Núñez on at this point. And Núñez is going to make a run that sort of goes over here, which frees up, obviously, this man here. And I think it makes sense that you would think that that's the pass that the goalkeeper's going to make. So as you move on, he's blocked that passing lane over here, and the ball goes in here. And as I say, the man in the rhombus, he's actually got himself in between two Liverpool players in not a very good position, to be honest. But as the ball moves out, it's played off the defender into the right-back position, which is the passing lane that Núñez originally wanted to. And again, Mr. Rhombus over here, stuck in between two Liverpool players. Moving on again, and you can see he's on toes, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's making a run from off the shoulder of Curtis Jones. Mo's not particularly interested.
Sobbo, isn't it? Is it Sobbo?
No, it's Mo. That might be Sobbo, sorry, yeah. Sorry, yeah. And the ball is going to be fed through to him here. And you can see now, as two Liverpool players converge on the defender, he's still screaming for the ball, but the man with the ball knows that that's the pass. And there we go.
Too easy.
Too easy. But look.
Yeah, bypassed.
How much space has this man got right now?
Yeah. This has been a recurring theme on my Substack, this. Because it's consistent throughout the season, especially against bigger sides. Liverpool's initial press, initial four men are getting beaten too easily, I think. But the weird thing about it is at the opposite end in terms of actual chances, it's not translating into shots. So Slot's talked about this a little bit as like it's not actually resulting in anything dangerous, which is weird because it should. But it's going to be interesting to see how we get on against like the likes of Manchester City with things like this.
On that, right, and just to take a step away from this, obviously we're all joking about we still haven't played anybody. Is everyone just waiting for us to play Man City? Is that it now? Because we've beaten the German champions, we're in the cup still, and we beat a Premier League side, a very good Premier League side in Brighton to stay there. We're top of the Premier League, we're top of the Champions League, and we still haven't played anybody.
Yeah. Well,
So it's just Man City's. What they mean is you haven't played Man City. Because if they just said that, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. Well, even AC Milan, we beat AC Milan, and they've just beat Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So,
and they were just an Italian side who were crap when we beat them.
Yeah.
Now, anyway. So here's where I think the problem is, actually. I think the problem for Liverpool is this huge amount of space in between Liverpool's midfield and press. And do you know what I mean? And for me, I think either everybody needs to push forwards so that these two guys are here and here, and maybe the centre halves are on this line here, or the press doesn't go. But you can't have the high press with nothing backing it up because there's too much space. But I take your point about what you're saying. Ultimately, if you give yourself numbers at the back, you can slow it all down and get people in.
Yeah. Well, if we go back a few slides, like say, let's have a look. Where are we here?
That's the beginning.
Right. Let's have a look at this one then. So I think one of the general problems has been Liverpool always have 4 in the high press, and I think with a lot of opposing sides like Arsenal, City, they'll recognise that. Probably a bit more man to man in Liverpool, and they'll encourage, say, McAllister to come up or something like that, and he'll join the press, and you'll go a little bit more man for man potentially, but crucially you won't be outnumbered. Liverpool, in a lot of these situations, are outnumbered. That's the problem. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Brighton players up against Liverpool's front 4, 6 if you include the goalkeeper. And when you're playing against top sides, you've got the likes of David Raya. I was going to say Robert Sanchez then, but I'm not even sure if I count him. Verbruggen was decent, Ederson. These are players who can play. So for Liverpool's front 4 press to work when they're outnumbered by 2 players a lot of the time is difficult, basically. But Slot almost seems to be unwilling to allow McAllister or Gravenberch to move a little bit higher up, because that then would make his back 4 vulnerable. So I almost understand where he's coming from. Like, sacrifice the extra body high up. If the high press doesn't work, okay, it doesn't work. But then at least
you've got the numbers back to deal with the problem.
Yeah, like if you go forward here, once this lad gets here, he is kind of up against, like, you know, a connected midfield 2 and a connected back 4 of players that you can't see here. And it's not really resulting in chances.
No, but the prosecution, myself, would like to say this.
I'm not saying it's good, by the way.
No. And here's where I think, I'm not sure it is a Slot thing, because, look, body language. Where are you? 2 arms out, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right? And if you go forward even more, look at, is it Gakpo?
That's Gakpo, yeah.
Yeah, look at him.
Yeah.
Fuck's sakes!
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they're expecting a little bit more help from these guys.
But then the thing is, if you are in that situation there, like, say for example you're Gravenberch or you're McAllister, again you're relatively outnumbered.
Yeah.
So for it to be solved, I think you might just have to commit some more bodies, as in potentially a fullback. But Slot seems really intent on keeping his back 4 connected. I don't know why Konate's there. What's Konate doing there? But at least his back 4 is kind of always connected. And especially when we get to when the opposition gets to the final third, it's like it's Trent, Konate, Virgil and Tsimikas or Robbo within the width of their penalty box. Like, no one's getting that. But initially, a couple of years back,
oh god,
Trent would be up here.
Yeah.
Trent would
be on the
part of the high press
and stuff like that. So yeah, but I think it's an interesting one. Obviously, the man runs forwards.
This is the worst one we conceded, isn't it?
Yeah. And obviously Kelleher's there, and it all comes from that space in the middle of the park. And to sort of highlight it a little bit, I'm just going to turn this off now. To sort of highlight it a little bit, what I'm trying to say, we've got them here, the forwards on the board, right? And you're already going against 5, by the way, because you've got 1 there, 2 centre halves split, let's say, maybe that, and you're already there.
Yeah.
So there's your 6 with the goalkeeper. What I think's happening is kind of most of the time it's this. Whereas I think what we'd have seen in previous iterations is more of that. Whereas, you know, Leverkusen did this last night actually when they were attacking. Their backline was here. And I think that's where Liverpool have got that little bit of disconnect at the moment, whether it's disconnect or whether it's Slot going, I want me 6, and I'm comfortable with me 6 dealing with any problem. I think these 4 are being hung out to dry a little bit by the position of these 6.
Yeah, they are a little bit. But then at times, these 2 are being hung out to dry. Because, I mean, we've touched on it recently with, like, Chelsea episodes, I think, and maybe... I did a Chelsea episode with Paul. Did we do an Arsenal episode as well?
I can't remember.
Potentially where Havertz was doing similar stuff to Cole Palmer.
Oh,
but
yeah, he was overloading.
Yeah, overloading these guys. I think the big thing is... I think the only department in a weird sort of way that isn't being hung out to dry is the back 4.
Which it was being hung out to dry the last 2 years.
Yeah, weirdly. But that potentially is what is... preventing opposition sides from, once they get into the final third, the chance doesn't tend to come. And maybe that's because the back 4 is always connected. But the initial progression up the pitch and the reason why maybe we're not seeing as much of the ball as we thought and as much of the ball as Slot would like is because the initial press I don't think is working a lot of the time. Like, one of the reasons maybe the fullbacks can't join in is because so many opposition sides now are pinning them. Madueke, Matoma, whoever it is, Martinelli, Saka. So to ask Trent or Tsimikas to go, you're leaving a big risk there. Then Kanate's getting dragged down and suddenly your back 4's all at sea. Whereas if you accept that the press might not work, but at least you've got a back 4 that's connected.
And 2 centre midfielders in front of
Yeah, so it's trade-offs. I don't think Slot will be entirely happy, and I don't think what we're seeing is entirely the plan. So that's not what I'm saying. But despite these issues here,
inefficiencies maybe,
it's allowing the back 4 to still play like they're attached, you know, with rope or whatever.
And so this is where I came into the main bulk of the show, really. So Slot came in, and the idea was control. Like, what is control?
Yeah.
So, if you can answer honestly for me, when Slot came in and he talked about, you know, we're going to have more control in games, what was the first thing that you kind of thought of? What did that mean to you?
Well, I think there's a few things that it covers, and we are going to touch on them. But I think the easy one is just probably more of the ball, and crucially when you're on the ball, a bit more patience with it, just be a bit slower, and by being a bit slower and a bit less end-to-end, your share should climb up towards 70% and things like that, really, in terms of ball possession. But I think we've been controlling things in different ways.
Well, that's exactly where I came at it from, because, not to just completely repeat what you've just said, but I thought initially it was more possession, dominate the ball, fewer chances for the opposition because we're dominating the football, and a little bit more Man City, to be quite honest with you, is how I thought that's what that statement meant. And now, and this Brighton stuff feeds into this quite well, I've got a different view of control and what control might be. And I think it's something that we've discussed without putting that word on it over the last few weeks on the show. And I think, you know, I'm going to bring up an Excel spreadsheet now, because you know me and I love an Excel spreadsheet, and I've even coloured it in for you. I just wanted to show this, and I am going to have to change to this. So hopefully you can see my Excel spreadsheet now. Beautiful. So these are the last 4 home games and the last 4 away games, right? 4 wins at home, 1 draw, 3 wins away. The possession, 3 of the last 4 home games, we've had under 51% of the ball.
And the one we had over was 51.
Yeah, it's not like, it's not huge.
No.
All of the away games over 50% of the football. That to me doesn't scream control in what my first thought of control was for Arne Slot's Liverpool side. So I'm going to move on to the XG stuff. Now, XG for expected goals against, they're the next 2 columns, E and F. But we'll look at G, expected goals minus expected goals against. So the median of that is we are outperforming in terms of XG our opposition by 1.33 per 90. and away by only 0.53. We're actually controlling the favourable shots for us and limiting the shots for them more at home with less possession than away with more possession, which is a bit weird.
Yeah.
But we did play Arsenal in that run of games. So is control about the football, or is control limiting shots for the opposition and having high quality shots yourself?
I think it's a mixture of both, isn't it? I think the general goal in football, obviously, is create lots of good shots for yourself, give away very little for the opposition.
Yes.
The modern way in which you achieve that is by dominating the ball, and you decide when the game gets accelerated and things like that. And Liverpool, I think, have been doing that, and crucially though, they've been taking the lead first. Once you have a lead and you no longer need to commit, I think that is when that's where we've seen a big shift with Slot compared to Klopp, because Liverpool haven't necessarily been playing in exactly the same way with a lead. It hasn't been full pelt. I suppose it was against Leverkusen, but generally I think we've been a bit more like
pragmatic.
Right, yeah, stay compact, stay together from the attacking lines at the defensive line, maybe use the transition a little bit more, and don't give away anything clear cut. In a way, Liverpool doing that are still controlling proceedings because it's on their terms, but you're not controlling the ball, so it conflicts with that a little bit. So it's just different ways, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. And it is something you brought to the table, the soccer stat stuff. How much time and percentage points have Liverpool been leading level in training? Liverpool's the bottom one. The bottom one there. In fact, we'll bring Man City into it as well because it's interesting. So Liverpool have been leading 47% of the time in the Premier League this season, level for 39.7% of the time, behind for 13.3%. Arsenal have been behind for less with 12.7%, and Nottingham Forest 7.1%. We know how good their sort of defence is at the moment. What's really interesting is we break that down by home and away. Liverpool at home have been leading 48.2% and trailing 16.2%, and away leading for 45 and trailing for less time away from home, 10.4%. And again, I just think this is all just interesting. It's like, I don't think we're seeing the final form of Arne Slot's Liverpool. I don't think we can be. I think 3 years into the reign, you might see the first final form of Arne Slot's Liverpool side. But also with the contract talks, Josh, there's a good chance that this could be the best side that Arne Slot has.
Yeah.
Because of Salah, Van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold. So when we sort of think about the future, does his control have more possession and limit the shots? And is he fixing one thing at the moment and then another's maybe coming? Or is Anfield playing a factor in all of this?
I think his goal is to see more of the ball, to be honest. I think he wants to kill games with possession, and even when we have a lead, still you've got the ball, and it's a bit Spain at international level where even when they're 1-0 up or whatever, the ball still belongs to them and things like that. We haven't seen that as much, and I think a lot of that's probably because our press is getting worked around a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I do think Anfield does play a bit of a part on your tactics. I do think Anfield encourages more of a basketball game, and Anfield wants to get involved sometimes, and it's a bit more end-to-end, a bit more transition. Anfield was very Klopp, to be fair. That was just a perfect marriage, to be honest. I think there's been times so far on the Slot where Anfield has wanted something, and Liverpool's game has been a bit like, let's keep a lid on this. And maybe we've seen that in the second half, but to keep a lid on Anfield, even as the team that wants to keep a lid on it, it's hard because it has such an impact. But I think usually it will be positive, and I think Slot gradually will realise that. I think Slot has been a bit, we don't want to use transitions too much, we want to keep control. But I think over the past week in particular, he'll have seen the perks of playing into Anfield and turning it into an end-to-end game. Usually when you turn into an end-to-end game at Anfield, when the stakes are high and the crowd's loud and stuff like that, Liverpool usually win those bouts, I think. It's when it's end-to-end against like Forest or Brentford or a team where Anfield's not really going to be that interested. That's when you're playing with fire. That's when you can kill it a little bit. But against the bigger teams, like a Brighton, if it does go punch for punch, Anfield usually helps you win.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? And I'll just go through those percentages again. Brighton 55%, Arsenal 55%, Leipzig 58%, Palace 68% away from home. At home, 47 against Leverkusen, 49 against Brighton, 42 against Chelsea, 51 against Bologna. Is it likely or possible that we're actually seeing more of what Slot wants away from Anfield, where it's a bit more in a lab? Controlled, Anfield's not having an influence, we're getting the possession, we're still winning the chance creation battle?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think away from home, Slot's game for me is certainly more, you've got the foundations a bit more to win an away game, whereas if you think of what Klopp favoured was a bit more end-to-end, keep saying a bit more basketball and stuff, but if you're at an away stadium, that's not really what you want. You want the crowd to stay quiet, you want them borderline bored, you want Liverpool to go through a routine win where we score first, then score second ideally, keep a clean sheet, don't give away much, and the opposition come away from it thinking, that was crap, they were just dominant. Away from home, you want that a bit more. So the fact that we've got better possession stats away from home, I think, is healthy.
Arsenal 55%, that's crazy.
Yeah. What's the 60 odd there?
Is it Palace 68?
See, Palace is colder than at times. So to keep a lid on them. I mean, there was a period where we give away a few fouls, a few set pieces, and got the crowd involved a little bit more towards the end of that game. But clean sheet, 70% of the ball against Palace, giving away shots worth 0.6 xG, which is nothing. That's how Guardiola wins leagues. It's them away games where they're just boring for the home side. Hopefully Liverpool can keep it up. But I think with this run that we're going through at the minute, one of the things I suppose why opposition fans are still doubting us a little bit is because some of it, this tricky run that we're going through, a lot of the games are at home, aren't they? Leverkusen home, Brighton home, Chelsea home, Arsenal we had away I suppose, but that was only a draw. But we are learning every week, aren't we?
Absolutely, so there you go. I wonder for myself, I think my definition of control might have changed. I think there is a pragmatism to what Slot is doing, and certainly a little bit of the Tinkerman in Rafa Benitez if we think about the Leverkusen Diaz style thing. I
was thinking of Mourinho when you said that then, about, I think Mourinho definitely said once that you don't need the ball to control the game, and that's, when you say that to a lot of people, they're like, what? But we've actually think about it, he's absolutely spot on, and we've seen that with Liverpool at times this season. We've been in control for a lot of the time, but haven't always dominated the ball.
Yeah, and that was something actually Mourinho did in the 13-14 season against us, because we were off the back of a win against Manchester City where we booed and hissed and everything else for the full 90 minutes, and Mourinho just went, you have the ball, watch you boo your players, and we couldn't. And so we couldn't do anything. They just set up, and then the hitters and that famous thing happened and all that type of stuff. But they never had the football in that game, and they controlled that game.
Exactly, yeah. There was the same against Barcelona when he was in charge of Inter Milan. You don't necessarily need the ball to control how the game flows, the flow of the game and things like that. And if you end up creating better shots than your opposition, that's the end goal at the end of the day. And Liverpool keep doing that.
Okay, well there we go. That has been the deep dive for this week. I hope you've enjoyed both shows. If you have, tweet us at Mr. Blood Red at Distance Covered. Thank you very much for joining Redmen Plus, of course, and we'll see you next week.